Hello, this is Mark from I Am Organic Gardening, and welcome to 2017 and a Happy New Year. Today's January 1st, and we're starting a new Back to Eden gardening project. Now, this is going to be my new melon patch for production this year in 2017, and we have some peach trees already planted up in some center islands. And I want to take you up into the barn right now and show you the video I shot 2 weeks ago when I received those peach trees. So I received my box of peach trees. There's a total of 8 trees in there. They're bare roots, and they're about 5 feet long. The box is about 5 feet long. So let's open it up. So I have 2 types of peach trees. There's 4 of each. So the first 4 is on top here, and the bare roots are in the plastic bag. And then I have the other 4 on the bottom, which is in that plastic bag, the bare roots. The main trunk of the tree is about 3/4 of an inch thick, and they graft that onto a rootstock that is going to stay small, so it will keep this tree small and growing. And you can see how nice those roots are. And there, and here you can see where they grafted on. That's a grafting union right there. I already have those peach trees planted up already, and I wish I could have showed you, but I had to get them in the ground immediately before the ground freezes. And so I'm going to explain a little bit about how big the new Back to Eden garden is for 2017. It's 50 feet wide and 200 feet long. The center point is about 1.5 feet thick of wood chips. I'll show you later how thick they are. And out towards the edges is anywhere from 8 inches to 1 foot thick. So the new Back to Eden melon patch is located right across my access road, right down the middle of my farm here, right across from the other Back to Eden garden on the other side of the access road. Now, that Back to Eden garden is 50 feet wide and 300 feet long, and next to that is where the decomposing leaves were last year, and that's where all the winter rye is growing. That's that green grass there you see. So I did something a little bit different than the other Back to Eden garden. I made little islands in the wood chips. I'll show you the hole that I have on my right hand side later on. And what I did was I just removed the wood chips and went down to the original soil in the ground, and then I filled back up that hole again in the wood chips with new topsoil that I had on the other part of my farm here. So now I have a good planting medium, and it's a raised bed. It's in the wood chips, and then I planted my peach trees in here just like what Paul has, and that's going to help grow soil. That's going to keep that mycorrhizal fungi alive all the time, and it's going to send its roots out, and it's going to keep that soil healthy and regenerating nutrients all the time, so I don't have to use any type of fertilizer. I don't have to use any type of manure. I want to also bring up this key point. A lot of people, especially in the Back to Eden videos, they says, okay, I'm going to put the cardboard down, the wood chips on top, and that's fine. But what you're missing is, and they see that the idea behind that is when you go into the woods and you see all this litter that's falling from the trees, the leaves, the bark, everything else too, and it's covering the soil, the twigs, that's keeping the soil moist. And yes, it is, and it's keeping the soil food web alive, 100%. Now, what you're also missing is if you just put the wood chips on top of the ground just by itself, what else is in the woods or that area that you saw all this litter on the ground for? You're missing the key point. Is you see also trees. So if you just put the wood chips on the ground and you're taking away the life from the soil, the carbon being put back in the ground by that living root of a tree, because that's how the forest regenerates itself, not so much by the minerals inside the debris that's falling on the ground. It is actually collecting carbon out of the atmosphere through the trees, and it's sending all that carbon, liquid carbon, back down into the soil and regenerating itself all the time. It gives 51% back all the time to retain health for the soil. So if you have just wood chips and manure added in there, it's your choice whether you want to do that or not, and it's working great, but you're just growing in compost. What I'm trying to do is grow in soil. It's a longer lasting process to keep the gardens healthy. So here's a good example of what I did in the new Backdating Garden. This is a trench I dug with the bucket on my tractor. The bucket's about 5 feet wide, and so I removed about 10 feet long in the trench. So it's 5 feet wide and 10 feet long, but it's its own center island. And inside that center island, I will fill up again with soil from another part of the farm, or you can use the soil that's around your base soil and put it back in the hole as a raised bed. Now you have this beautiful raised bed with mixed soil. Now we have to regenerate it because we disturbed a lot of it. So that's why I'm going to plant the peach trees in there. We're going to throw some winter rye on top of it. We're going to plant ornamental grasses, but you can use perennials. Again, go back to that list that I have for you, and what you're looking for is all that endomycorrhizal friendly plants that you can plant in this island. Then along the edge of this island, you can plant all along this edge of watermelons, and which I'm going to do. And they are just going to sprawl out that vines all in all directions on top of the wood chips. So I only need soil in these little islands to support those watermelons. I'm not worried about the soil condition or what's going on underneath the wood chips. The wood chips in this particular thing, I'm not going to be growing soil so much underneath the wood chips, but what they're going to provide me is a reservoir of water. So when this area dries out here, the water will be brought in by the wood chips holding moisture back into the soil again, thus reducing irrigation. And I will probably not have to irrigate at all because I have all these wood chips. I took a walk to the end of the garden at the 200 feet. Now I want to show you this angle for the simple reason is that I had this piece of land that was very difficult to farm and to grow things in, because you can see how it's kind of a natural swale here. Now I leveled it off across here, but you can see there's kind of a recession or a dip in here. Now what I did was, instead of trying to fill this all back up with soil and ruining the ground or anything else too, I just made the wood chips level with the soil. So now what I can do is grow a beautiful melon patch of watermelons and cantaloupe in this whole entire area, and I don't have to worry about the ground being over wet or ruining them. Because you can see here at the bottom of your screen here, there's a little bit of a puddle. Now that's where the wood chips are 1.5 feet thick, and then I have the raised bed on top of it. So I'm actually improving the land to growing things on by just adding wood chips on top to level the surface out, not worried about how wet the soil is underneath. So here's an example of the peach tree I received 2 weeks ago that I planted immediately. Now I'm going to take you over to another part of the farm. So same time last year, I was planting peach trees, the same variety at a different spot, and I want to show you how much it grew within 1 year. The variety is called Suncrest, and I planted these exactly a year ago, and you can see how much they grew in just a year. Peach trees are great to have. So are apples or any other type of fruit trees on your farm, because you're getting also the benefit of going vertical and using more space in an area that if you're crowded, now you can grow a tree above and also grow your plants below. And don't worry, because if you're going to space them 20 feet apart, you're never really going to shade that area to ever affect the plants that are growing underneath it. So you can see I have the peach trees in the background next to some metal fencing, which is going to be my new trellis that I'm putting up over here. Now, I'm asked this question a lot, and it's really interesting because I'm used to seeing it all the time, but a lot of people ask me, it's like, why is your grass so green? Where do you live? This is impossible. How do you do this? Again, it's not grass, it's winter rye, and the reason I use this because it has the ability to grow all winter. Even in the snow, it will stay semi-green because the reflection through the snow will keep it that way and will take off again in the spring. But what's nice about this, and the reason why it's so green, and this is a very key point, is because I had all these leaves on this area. This is where I did the back to Eden versus fall leaves. Now, the leaves have decomposed. Now, all that nitrogen is going to leach away, so I'm recapturing it again, and I'm feeding the winter rye with this. That's why it's doing so well, and that's why it's so lush, because it has a beautiful boost of natural organic fertilizer that's recycling itself again and again and again. And this will always stay green and recycle itself as long as I do not disturb the soil. That's why you don't need fertilizer of any kind, and that's why you don't even have to put manure down of any kind, because the ground can do this on its own. With the soil food web and worms, it's going to do a beautiful job replenishing the things that are in the ground and keep recycling it all the time for you. I wish to thank you, and I wish you a very happy New Year's. This is going to be a beautiful year for gardening for everybody and growing your own food, and nice and healthy food, and wishing everybody the greatest benefit you can possibly have on this planet to do so. And also, I wish to thank you for subscribing and all those people that did last year. I appreciate it so much.